Yeah. Cast no stone. It's Cody Jinks, everybody. I'm no country fan, but I love me some Cody Jinks. I don't. Well, cast no stone. And we're listening to Cast No Stone because today we're covering the sociology of Hinduism, its global 3.10, and we're going to cover the caste system. So I had to play Cast No Stone. Cody Jinks, he's amazing. You love Cody Jinks. It's spelled a little different. This is the cast with an E and caste system. Okay, and the caste system is basically a social hierarchy. It's a religious foundation on the social hierarchy of Hinduism. So this is a social hierarchy, which means that we're going to see one of those beautiful little pyramid things again. But before we get to the pyramid thing, we should understand that this is a religious-based social system, which is a little strange. And we want to understand the historical sort of piece of this. Like, where did this social hierarchy come from? And so we're going to focus in over here. You got to give this 3 stars. You got to know the caste system for the test. And maybe slightly less important for the test or for life in general is this idea in Hinduism of the Vedas. Okay, the Vedas. The Vedas is ancient texts, right? These are Hindi texts. And in these Hindi texts, it describes what I'm going to refer to as a well-designed society, right? Sort of like the purpose of society. The Dharma, right? We talked about like a life goal, right? So this sort of, the Vedas really described a purpose in life. Purpose of life and a well-designed society that functions towards that purpose. Okay, and the main idea of the Vedas is that society is like a body. Society is like a body. Now, I'm not a very good drawer, so I'm going to come at you with like I'm going to come right at you with like a stick figure. Okay, because I'm not a very good drawer. But basically, the idea in the Vedas is that society is a lot like the human body. We have different parts of our body, and the different parts of our body operate in different ways. So, for instance, we have sort of like the brain. And the brain is a command center. These is where all the heavy thinking and where all the orders should come from, right? The brain tells the rest of the body what to do. The arm doesn't tell the rest of the body what to do, and my foot doesn't tell the rest of the body what to do. The brain tells the rest of the body what to do. Okay, and then you have these sort of like more functioning, again, I'm not a very good drawer, so we're going stick figure style here. Then we sort of have like the body, right? The arms and whatnot. Right, your body and arms and your organs, right? And the arms, we're gonna like kind of put like a little sword here because it'd be like what you fight with, right? So we might kind of have like this is the command center, and this is how we protect ourselves, right? And the body contains all of our organs. This is the stuff that like really makes society work. This really makes the body work. The organs. Really make the body work. And then down here you kind of have like the legs, right? And the legs are sort of your driving. This is like your trunk, as we call it, your trunk, right? And this really drives you and propels you. This is where like you have a lot of strength. Your legs are probably the most powerful muscle in your body. That quadricep is, except for your tongue. Your tongue's actually the most powerful muscle in your whole body. Did you know that? I just learned that like 30 years ago. And legs, right? This kind of takes you where you go. It takes you where you want to go. So if you want to think of like laborers, this takes you where you want. This is your labor force down here, right? So you have like specialized organs, specialized jobs. You got soldiers, right? Almost like an armed forces. You've got authority figures, and way down here, the little feet. And the feet get dirty. The feet are very, very, very dirty. These are the things that come in contact with the ground, and they're down in the mud and the muck and the swill all the time. Okay, and your feet, yes, they play an important role. Like your body doesn't really operate without the feet, but the feet are kind of like gross, right? They're in contact with the ground all the time, and they get worn and calloused and ugh. Okay, so this idea in the Vedas is sort of like preaches that society operates best, sort of like a human body operates best, with a lot of different functions going on. If my human body was like, if I had no brain and just arms, that ain't gonna work, right? And if I had just a brain, but like not the rest, it was all brains, but like chopped off at the head and nothing else, then that body's not functioning, right? A body really, right? Your human body really depends on every little piece and functionality of it doing its own thing and doing its own job, right? And kind of playing that role in order to make the whole body function properly. Now let's compare that to like Hindi society, right? So the idea is that Hindi society is going to be very similar. So I'm just going to shift. I knew that was coming. I knew I was going to need a little bit more space. And so Hindi society operates on this caste system. Okay? And the caste system is designed sort of like the human body. Let me see if I can shift over. Let's shift over to our presentation real quick. I got that up. There it is. Oh, there it is. Okay. And present. And so here is the caste system that is also similarly designed like a human body. You have priests and teachers. I mean, how cool would that be? If I lived in a Hindi society, I would be at the top of the pyramid. Instead, here I am in the United States, non-Hindi society. Oh, you're just a teacher. But priests and teachers and other authority figures, they would make up the Brahmin, as you see at the top of that pyramid there. All right, and the Brahmin would be like the command center. And then underneath, you have like the arms, right? And the muscles, those are your warriors and other ruling class, right? And that's a tough one to pronounce there. I believe it's Hishtras. Hishtras, and so this is your warrior class. We're not going to make you remember that term. I'm designing, if you hear my voice kind of going in and out, I'm building our pyramid that we're going to come back to on the board in a second. And the Vaishyas, oh boy, I'm embarrassing myself with this pronunciation. I'm going to keep trying, though. I'm going to keep trying. I know Shudra and I know Untouchables at the bottom. I know the Shudra and the Untouchables. I always struggle with these other ones. And then you've got, so these specialized jobs like farmers and merchants and traders. And we're not going to make you remember that one because pronunciation gets difficult here. Artisans, farmers, merchants, and then underneath them are the laborers, and that is the Shudra. And Shudra we can definitely pronounce well. So we need to know the Brahmin, the Shudra, and way down at the bottom, the feet, the gross feet that come in contact with all the dirt and swill, the street sweepers, the toilet cleaners, right? This is like just shy of like the most disgusting jobs. These people were referred to as untouchable. And they were thought to be sort of like outcasts of society that had been literally outcasts that had been sort of they'd done something wrong. They had not fulfilled their dharma or built so much bad karma that they sort of, instead of leveling up like we talked about yesterday, instead they leveled down, and they end up in an area where you can no longer get out of it. Right? You are untouchable. You're trapped at the bottom of the social pyramid forever. And as your life cycle sort of repeats through reincarnation, you would continue to be reincarnated as these sort of awful, untouchable vessels. Okay? And the idea was, right? The idea is very simply that if you could keep society functioning like this, then society functions pretty well. If everybody wants to be a teacher, then you miss out on the other stuff, and like everyone starves to death because there's no farmers. If everybody's a farmer, then all you have is food, but nobody's smart, and you don't really have anybody that knows how to protect society, and there's no one cleaning the toilets, right? Like, so the whole idea of this is that every little piece of society plays a valuable part. And now in that way, the system's kind of nice, right? Everyone is valuable. Everyone is thought of as valuable. But at the same time, the system is a little bit rigged, right? I mean, call me crazy, but this sounds like a system that basically, like, what do we say in this country now? We could say, know your role and shut your hole. Right? Know your role, shut your hole. Basically, do your job, and I don't care how much you dislike your job, just shut up, and that's your role, and that's what you got to do. And so you don't really have any freedom to move. You are born into a caste. And whatever your parents were, that's what you're going to be. Know your role, shut your hole. Okay, and you just got to do your role. And if you play your role, then of course you are sort of living up to that idea of dharma and achieving your life purpose. And you build good karma. And the promise is that if you do that, if you know your role and shut your hole, then when you die and get reincarnated, then you could, in fact, perhaps level up, or your spirit could come back as something even more awesome. Okay? But this does seem a little bit rigged. Like, how convenient that the priests of this religion have designed a system where they're at the top and everybody else just has to be quiet and accept the role that they've been given in life. That does seem a little bit rigged, doesn't it? So I'm going to, of course, write the question, is this a rigged system? Does it just protect the power of the powerful? And that's a legitimate question. And that is an enduring issue that we're going to keep coming back to over and over and over again. We could even question, do we live in a society today that just protects the power of the powerful? Right? I know, like, if you're living right now, I'm filming this video in 2021, there's some stock market stuff going on where little traders, tiny investors, just regular Joe Schmo, even some college kids have figured out a way, right, using GameStop stock to sort of like beat the big Wall Street power players. And the big Wall Street power players, they're not so happy about that. And they kind of like re-rig the system and change the rules, because ultimately the power figures make the rules. And so when the power feels like their authority is being questioned, they just change the rules a little bit and knock everybody else back into place again. Okay, so interesting sociology of Hinduism, right? On the one hand, I kind of get it. You can't have everybody doing the same thing. You got to have lots of different roles in society because people playing those roles. On the other hand, right, and so everyone is valuable, but on the other hand, this is a little bit of a rigged system where it seems like those that are in power are just sort of designing a system that keeps them in power. Okay, great. We're going to talk a little bit in our next lesson about the anthropology of Hinduism. We're going to talk about being born into a caste and not being able to marry anybody outside of that caste. We'll see you for that lesson next on Global 3.11. See ya.